Hello and welcome back to my review on the manga series Terumae Romae. If you haven't seen my review on book 1 yet, please go back and check that out before you continue with the review for book 2. Book 2 starts with chapter 6. And Lucius's friend Marcus is working on the commissioned statue. The statue is of the god Priapus, a Greek god of fertility. He's very easy to recognize because he is always depicted with an oversized and permanent erection. He was also the patron god of merchant sailing, and appropriately Marcus tells us that the commissioner of the piece is a wealthy merchant from Campania. And clearly this merchant has a strong belief in the power of the Facinus, also known as the divine phallus. It was thought that the Facinus would ward off evil, particularly from children and young boys. Phallic charms would come in the form of pendants, rings, as well as wind chimes called tintinnabula. And Marcus shows us the pendant that his client has given him, and reassures his master that this charm will protect him. Anyways, Marcus hasn't seen Lucius in a while, and so decides to check up on his buddy after work. We find that Lucius has been stuck at home depressed after his wife left him. Livia had been collecting phallic charms to place at the family altar. She'd been desperate to have children. Marcus, seeing that his friend definitely needs the protection from the divine phallus more than him, gives him the pendant and takes him to see a priestess of Priapus. She tells Lucius to get into her cauldron, and Lucius time travels to modern-day Japan. He appears during the middle of a Shinto festival, celebrating Japan's very own phallic god. Now, Japan has many different regional celebrations of the divine phallus. The festival Lucius happens upon is probably the Konsei Matsuri. Part of the festival includes women trying to climb on top of a floating wooden phallus in a hot spring. Women who manage to sit on it are supposedly blessed with fertility. Lucius returns to his time and is determined to get his wife back. He goes to see his in-laws to see if Livia might be there. But it's too late. Livia thought that Lucius had become Hadrian's new lover. She had already remarried and was now pregnant with a child. Chapter 7. Lucius has been throwing himself into his work since his wife has left him. We see Lucius fixing a leaking pipe in a bathhouse in Trastevere. This is a very old bathhouse that's been around since when Rome was a republic, and we learn that Lucius's father used to look after the maintenance of this bathhouse. This is the first time we learn about Lucius's family background, and it honestly makes a lot of sense. The majority of Romans inherited their family trade. Lucius informs the bath owner that he will eventually have to replace the terracotta pipes, but the bath owner isn't sure if he can afford such a renovation. He's had fewer customers ever since a group of soldiers returned from Germania. These soldiers are Germanic peoples who were conquered by Rome. Non-citizens who serve in the Roman army for 25 years could receive a Roman military diploma and would be granted Roman citizenship as a reward. And we learned that this is exactly how these soldiers gained citizenship. But as these men were not raised in Roman culture, they don't know how to appropriately behave in the bath. Lucius confronts these men when he time slips into modern-day Japan. But this time it's not only him. The soldiers had also time traveled with him. They get into a physical fight, but Lucius points at a sign with the rules of the bath. The Germanic soldiers finally learn how to behave appropriately, and when they all return to their time, Lucius helps the bath owner install signs to help the foreign customers understand the rules. This chapter in particular really is a story about Japan more than Rome. In recent years, as tourism has increased, Japanese baths have been having troubles figuring out how to deal with foreigners. Many baths do not allow those with tattoos to use the facilities, which from a non-Japanese perspective really comes off as major discrimination. And some things which seem super obvious to a Japanese person, like not being allowed to wear a swimming suit in the hot spring, is now something that must be explicitly communicated to tourists. But I digress. At the end of the chapter, Lucius is approached by Chionius, who has been chosen as the man to succeed Hadrian. He's come to inform Lucius that Hadrian has fallen ill and is asking for Lucius to join him in Tivoli. Chapter 8. We learn that Hadrian was at the Colosseum when he fell ill, but was immediately rushed back to his palace in Tivoli. Back in his palace, Hadrian reminisces on his time with Antino and wished that he were back in Egypt. He even created a pool in his villa imitating the Nile, with crocodile statues guarding the sides of the pool. Now, in the manga, that wasn't enough for Hadrian. Hadrian actually brought in crocodiles to keep in his villa. There are some sources that claim that Hadrian did keep crocodiles, but it doesn't seem like that's backed up with any definitive proof. It's pretty likely that Hadrian didn't have any live crocodiles in his villa, because it's really difficult to keep crocodiles alive, as we see in the manga as well. Anyways, Lucius arrives to the villa, and Hadrian confesses that he believes that his time is coming to an end. He needs Lucius's help to build a new public bath in order to boost his successor Caionius's popularity. Lucius agrees to take on the project, but he is not impressed by Caionius. He just doesn't seem like great emperor material, and this is backed up by sources that claim that he was a very flaky and unreliable guy. However, he was supposedly quite handsome, which in the end added to his reputation as a womanizer, so I guess that doesn't really help. So Lucius, and pretty much everyone else, can't understand why Hadrian chose this guy when he time slips and ends up in a crocodile cage. This is the very famous Banana-Wanien, or the Banana and Alligator Park, located in Shizuoka Prefecture. The premise of the park is to recreate a tropical environment by using hot spring water. Here, Lucius learns that it is possible to keep an alligator in captivity, and also gets to taste a banana, which Emperor Hadrian had been raving about. Lucius is convinced that he can recreate a tropical Egyptian environment for the emperor, which might help him recover from his illness. Lucius returns to Rome and helps Hadrian improve his artificial Nile, hoping that Hadrian will live a long life, long enough for Caionius to someday become a better heir. Chapter 9. The successor to the throne is officially being announced to the Senate. And as Hadrian's heir, Caionius' name changes from Lucius Caionius Commodus to Lucius Aelius Caesar. Roman names consisted of three parts: the praenomen, nomen, and cognomen. The praenomen is what we would now consider a given name, a personal name chosen by the parents. The nomen is what we would consider the surname, a family name usually passed down from the father. The cognomen was an additional personal name, kind of the way we use middle names. But cognomens were also kind of like nicknames, because cognomens were generally not given at birth, but rather earned or bestowed by others. For example, Emperor Augustus's father put down the slave revolt in Thurii, and therefore was sometimes given the cognomen of Thurinus. Anyways, in the case of Caionius, he gets to keep his praenomen of Lucius, changed his nomen to Aelius, since he was technically adopted by Hadrian, whose nomen is Aelius, and received the cognomen of Caesar, which is a cognomen used to mark an heir apparent. But to keep things simple, I'm going to continue to refer to him as Caionius throughout the video. Anyways, it seems that there are already rumors that Caionius would not be a good emperor, and Lucius becomes worried for the future of the empire. This is when Lucius meets young Marcus Annius Verus. Marcus is Hadrian's nephew's child, and from a young age his intellectual potential was recognized, and we learned that Hadrian actually wanted Marcus to be his successor. But at the time, Marcus was only 15 years old. Therefore, Caionius was chosen to buy time until Marcus would be old enough to take on the throne. And it seems that Caionius was aware of this plan. He arranged for his own daughter to be betrothed to Marcus, and intended for his future son-in-law to rule by his side until Marcus eventually took on the throne. Overwhelmed with the information he just learned, Lucius decides to go to the bath to relax. There he happens to run into Apollodorus, the former imperial architect. He complains that the bathhouses are being overrun by children who keep on climbing all over the statues that he built. Lucius wonders if he can create a bath that can be entertaining for children. And you know the formula by this point. He time travels and ends up at a modern-day water park. There, Lucius becomes obsessed with the water slides. He returns to Rome and with the help of his stonemason friend, creates a water slide, which ends up becoming more popular with the adults than the children. I like that this chapter dove deeper into Roman political history. Figuring out the line of succession is always difficult, and this plot will continue to affect the overall story of Terumae Romae. Chapter 10. We see some children writing graffiti on the wall of an old bathhouse. They are shooed away by the owner, who complains that they get fewer visitors now that Lucius has built all of these grand baths. Lucius gets invited to join a meeting of bath owners, who accuse him of abandoning the aesthetics of a simple Roman bath. Lucius, who had never considered that his innovative ideas would hurt the smaller bathhouses, is appalled and desperately thinks of how to revive them, when he ends up at a run-down Japanese bathhouse. However, this place is still getting customers. Lucius witnesses an old man bring in his grandchild, and it seems that the boy has collected enough points to win a t-shirt. Lucius is also introduced to a drink called Ramune. The drink itself honestly isn't anything special. It's a simple carbonated soda, but the bottle design is quite unique. Instead of a cap, the the bottle is sealed with a marble. It's a staple of Japanese summers and it's very popular amongst children. Anyways, Lucius returns to Rome and helps these bathhouses implement a point card system to help attract more customers. He also visits a glassblower to see if he can recreate the Ramune bottle. However, we see that somebody is lurking in the shadows. Somebody is plotting against Lucius. And that's the end of book 2. The more research I do, the more I fall in love with this series. It continues to be pretty faithful to history and manages to tell stories not just about Rome, but also about contemporary Japanese issues. I have high hopes for book 3, so keep your eyes out for my next review.